Here are the top 8 treatments to help heal a torn meniscus. Number 1 is offloading. What I mean by this is using crutches. That's going to be the most common tool to help offload a torn meniscus, a knee that's in pain because of a meniscus tear. If you can get on crutches and not put your full body weight through that leg, then you have a chance at taking pressure off the meniscus and allowing it to heal faster. So many people don't do this, and even healthcare providers don't guide people to get on crutches. I don't know why. It just makes sense to me because the cartilage, the meniscus, it's made out of cartilage, is a pressure taking piece of tissue. And so if you can take pressure off of it, then you can give it a chance to heal faster. But actually, people end up doing the opposite. They end up walking more in an effort to help the meniscus heal, which just adds more pressure, more compression to the meniscus. And so that's not a good idea. You need to be offloading it right now so that you can give it the best opportunity to heal. Number 2 is glute exercises. The glutes are the butt muscles on the back side of the hip. So back here, right in the back of the hip, you have the large glute muscles. There's a bunch of little muscles that make up the muscles on the back of the hip. I don't have a specific one for you to work out. There's research showing that gluteus medius and gluteus maximus are key muscle groups, but it's hard to know that you're targeting each muscle. Some people think they can. There's different areas of the muscle that will tire out more depending on the exercise you do. But what I've found is that strengthening all of it helps. The reason for this is because there's a muscle imbalance that sets up a meniscus tear. Let me explain it to you. In the hip here, you've got the glute muscles, and on the front of the thigh, you've got the thigh muscles, the quads. These quads tend to be over dominant in people that have a torn meniscus inside the knee here. And they become over dominant because the glute muscles are not strong enough to do their job of stabilizing the hip and allowing you to move properly when you're walking and doing your everyday activities. And if they're not strong enough, the quads begin to compensate and be used more, and they get stronger as a result. When they get stronger because of their attachment down into the knee, you can see it better on this knee model. This is the right knee. This is the quad tendon, and then it connects to the kneecap right here. And then there's a ligament that goes from the tendon, from the patella, the kneecap, down to the shin bone right here. And it connects the quads down to the shin bone. When the quads are too strong, they'll pull the shin bone up into the thigh bone and squash that meniscus that sits in between the two bones. You can see the meniscus here better. It's this bluish tissue right here. There's one on each side of the knee. So if that meniscus gets squashed because the quads are too strong, and then you're walking on it, trying to heal it or doing anything, but you're using the quads too much, then you're just making it worse. So what we need to do is fix that muscle imbalance so that you can take pressure off your meniscus for the long term. And it starts with doing glute exercises. And I get asked all the time, what's the best glute exercise? And what you have to figure out first is, do your glutes even work right? That is a foundational milestone piece that you need to cover first, because do this. If you try to, right now, whatever position you're in, if you try to tighten up your glute muscles, like make your muscles tighten up, think about squeezing them down there. If your thigh muscles also tighten up right here, or even the back of your thighs, and you can't separate a contraction in the back of your hip from a contraction in your thigh, then chances are you're compensating. Every time you think to use your glutes, your thigh muscles work, then it's compressing your knee joint. So you first have to figure out how to isolate just a glute contraction. If you don't do this, if you don't figure this out, then you're not going to be successful at healing your meniscus for the long term. You might have some short-term relief. You might get the pain to flare down, the meniscus to stop swelling. You might be able to get back to walking and even doing some exercise, but it's just going to be a matter of time before that imbalance takes over again and repressurizes your meniscus, and then you're stuck again with an aggravated meniscus, maybe a worse tear in the meniscus. So you've got to start with turning on the glute muscles, and then once you figure that out, then you've got to strengthen your glutes in a way that doesn't make the thigh muscles work too much and compensate. The third best treatment is a tibial shift correction. Now this is something very unique that, to my knowledge, I'm the only one talking about it on the internet here. So what you have to understand here, a little bit of anatomy. Here's the thigh bone, the femur, and here's the shin bone, the tibia, and you got the fibula out here. the connection between these two bones, most people see this as a knee bending, knee straightening joint, and that's what it largely does. But there is a little bit of rotation available and side to side motion available, tiny bits. When there's a meniscus tear, what I found, this is just me and my personal experience as somebody who helps people heal from a meniscus tear, a physical therapist, I found that there is a high amount of tibial shifts that happen. So in the knee, the shin bone, the tibia, is shifted sideways. This causes an alignment problem, a misalignment in the knee joint. And because the meniscus, let me show you my other knee model. The meniscus it's got kind of a cup shape in there, and the round shape of the thigh bone right here, it fits onto the meniscus, it seats onto it. But if there's a sideways shift in the bones, then it's not going to align properly, and so it's going to begin to rub the meniscus wrong. Now, I always get asked, how does this happen? How can you prevent it? There's a bunch of questions. It comes back to the muscle imbalance. We have to fix the glute strength so that the quads aren't working too hard. They're not compensating, because that helps with the alignment. But in the short term, we do need to correct the alignments. And I've got many videos on YouTube. I've got many videos all over the place that help you to correct the alignment by yourself. You can do that. That's one way to do it. But fixing the muscle imbalance long term is what's going to help you correct the alignment so that you don't have to be worrying about this being a problem all the time for you. If you have that muscle imbalance, then you're more prone, you're more predisposed to getting an alignment issue happening in your knee joint between the shin bone and the thigh bone, and it's going to compress your meniscus and potentially cause tears. This isn't something that MRIs or x-rays pick up. Surgeons don't know how to find this stuff. They're not even aware of this happening. I see it here in my clinic, and we've helped tons of people on the internet self-correct their tibial shift and get instant pain relief, because they'll realign the bones of the knee and take pressure off the meniscus. And I really do believe that in many cases of people that have a meniscus tear as diagnosed by an MRI, they end up having a surgery to correct the meniscus tear, usually to cut it out, a meniscectomy, or sometimes they'll do a meniscus repair. They'll end up having this surgery unnecessarily because the tear isn't the cause of their pain, it's the shift. And if they can correct that shift, they'll feel better in their knee, and their knee will work better. They'll be able to get back to doing all the things they want to do without ever having surgery, despite still having a tear in there. But the tear isn't what's causing their pain. And it's very possible to return to normal activities, even competitive activities, with a torn meniscus, because people do it all the time. We help people do it all the time. There's research evidence of people doing it all the time. It's totally possible. You don't have to have a meniscus surgery in order to move on in life. Most of the time, you just have to solve the root muscle imbalance or fix that tibial shift. Number 4 is toe exercises. The reason why toe exercises are so important, if you look at the foot of the skeleton here, the muscles that help to curl the toes specifically, the ones that curl it down, the tendons for those muscles are on the underside of the foot, and they run right under the arch of the foot. So when you have good strength in your toe flexors, your toe curling muscles, then you tend to have good support for your arch. And having good support for your arch is critical, because if your arch is collapsing down, then it collapses the ankle inwards, which moves the whole shin bone inwards. And when you're standing up, it's going to mess with the alignment in the knee. It's going to feed into this tibial shift problem, and it's going to make your quads on the front of your thigh want to work more, want to compensate. So the toe flexors down here work together with the glute muscles, so both need to be strengthened in order for you to have the right pressures going through your knee and your meniscus in your knee especially, so that you don't aggravate it and you have proper alignment and proper pressures going through your knee joint, and you're being set up to heal from your meniscus tear. Number 5 is lower abdominal exercises. Now, I'm saying specifically the lower abdominals because if you look at the abdominals, they run from the bottom of the rib cage and down to the pelvis bones right here, the top of the pelvis bones. The belly button is the halfway point. So below the belly button is where the lower abdominals are. Most people who do abdominal work have a hard time targeting those lower abdominals. They'll feel it in the upper abdominals, they'll feel the burn, the fatigue happen, but not in the lower abdominals. And it's so important because if you get strength right in here, it helps to set up the glutes to work better, which then sets you up to correct the muscle imbalance even easier. So getting good lower abdominal strength by doing exercises that target the lower abdominals is critical to making sure that you take pressure off your meniscus, that you have all the ability of your body to take pressure off your meniscus and allow it to heal naturally so that you can avoid a surgery. Number 6 is kind of an accumulation of everything so far. You have to be able to gradually load your meniscus. So we talked about offloading for the first point that I gave you. That's in the early stages when your meniscus is potentially flared up. You might be very swollen. You might not be able to put good pressure through your leg. It hurts most days of the week. In that phase of healing and recovery, you should be doing very little on your meniscus. But because the meniscus is a pressure, a loading tissue, you have to eventually begin to put some pressure through it. So you have to gradually load it. That's what I'm talking about in this point, in number 6 here. Once you feel better, once you're able to tolerate being on your feet, walking more, once you've gotten all these muscles that I've told you to activate, like the glutes especially, but the lower abdominals, and you can get your toes to curl better, then you're able to do higher level activities. You're able to do more exercise, and you actually have to begin to do some of these exercises, because when you do pressurize your meniscus the way that you're supposed to, the way that it's designed to take pressure in a way that it can tolerate, then you stimulate growth in the meniscus. You need it to become more, to have better integrity, to be able to take more pressures the way it's designed to take it. If you think about it, somebody who's bodybuilding or who's a power lifter, somebody that's into strength training, somebody who can pick up hundreds of pounds of weight. You see these like world's strongest man competitions where these guys are picking up like small cars and pulling 18-wheelers or even airplanes. They're very strong individuals. In order to be able to do those activities, their meniscus in their knee has to be able to take the forces that they're putting through it successfully. Now, some of these guys have injuries, but at the core of it, they have good integrity in their meniscus to be able to tolerate those activities. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be able to do that. You need to just have your meniscus strong enough to take the activities that you do on a regular basis. Whether it's just walking around the house, maybe you do go to the gym and do some exercises, or maybe you're into running or some higher level activity like jumping or competitive sports. You should be able to return to all of that, but you have to gradually make your way there. You can't jump straight into jumping and running and competitive sports if you just blew up your meniscus and were dealing with swelling a week or two ago or even a month ago. It takes some time. And when I say gradual and it takes time, it usually takes months. You're talking like 3 to 6 months, sometimes 6 to 12 months, depending on the severity of your meniscus problem, really the severity of the muscle imbalance. Because the quicker you can fix that muscle imbalance, then you can begin to load your meniscus faster. And the limiting factor is just going to be how fast can your meniscus grow in its ability to take pressures without becoming injured. Number 7 is squats. Now, after you've figured out how to gradually load, you need to specifically do squats. It's my strong opinion that squats are an essential exercise to master. And you have to have your glutes working, you have to have your foot muscles working, your toe flexors, and you need to have some good strength in your lower abdominals, and then you need to gradually work your way there. And when I say squats, especially when I have a meniscus patient coming into the clinic to work with us, I think the first thought that's in their head is that they're going to be doing weighted squats with 50 pounds or 100 pounds with a lot of weight, and dipping their butt all the way down into their heels and doing a full range squat. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just doing a little baby partial squat to begin with, and focusing on constraining your body to use your glutes and for your knees to work right and for your foot muscles to support your ankles and your shins, your tibias properly throughout the motion, so that you practice good quality motion for your knee, for your meniscus, so that you load it properly, and then you only go through the amount of motion that you safely can using the right muscles and all the right motions, and that you gradually add more and more pressure, maybe adding a few more pounds this time, or maybe doing a few more reps, maybe even going a little bit deeper if you can tolerate it without any problems. And the goal is not to max out a full depth squat and max out the weight. It's to just get strong enough to do what you want to do. That's it. And if your daily activities is, you tend to have a desk job, you sit up for work, and maybe you do a little bit of exercise in the gym, jogging here and there, enough to keep your body in shape and be healthy, then you don't need to strengthen a ton. And your knee will be just fine. Your meniscus will heal and you'll be able to get back to those activities and get back to staying healthy. Very, very doable without having to pick up hundreds and hundreds of pounds of weight. Although you can get to that. My final best treatment here, and this one's kind of controversial because I have two angles on it. It's walking. Now, I often tell people don't walk if you have a torn meniscus, and that holds true. But if you've gotten to this point where you're gradually loading, you've got all the muscles working right, the ones that I mentioned, you can take some squatting here and there, then walking can actually become a great thing for you at this point. Because if you know how to use your glutes during walking, there's a specific way. If you know how to use your foot muscles, specifically like I teach it, then walking is an excellent thing for you. And you need to do it all the time. Just like squatting, like you squat all the day. You sit down, you stand up, you get up and down from the toilet, in and out of cars. You have to go up and down stairs, which is a one-legged squat, essentially. Walking is critical for your daily life. So you need to be able to do it in a way that is productive for your meniscus, not destructive. Now, if you have a very swollen knee right now, it hurts, it's hot, it's painful, you know you have a meniscus tear, then you shouldn't be walking. It's not a good thing for you. I highly disagree with you walking as a treatment at that point. You might need to walk for everyday things, but you should be on crutches at that point. That's why I said offloading is important. But walking for exercise, walking with the intent of I'm gonna walk for 30 minutes or 60 minutes, or I'm gonna do so many miles or kilometers, that is a good thing if you've mastered using all your muscles properly. But it's a bad thing if you haven't done that, if you haven't mastered your glutes, your feet, your abs, and if it's painful for you to do it. You should not be doing walking as an exercise for a meniscus tear. If you want more details on exactly how to do walking in a way that helps your meniscus, go check out this video right here. I share all the details on exactly how to walk.